Assalamualaikum everyone, welcome back to this channel. This is me Ari Vaid and you are on the channel of Medicare. So as you know that we have started the lecture on the mediators of the acute inflammation, and we have discussed all the cell drive mediators. We have discussed there are two types of cell drive, preformed, which are also called vasoactive amine, histamine and serotonin came in it. Histamine is released from basophil cell, mast cells and platelets, and it is causing the vasodilation and increasing the vascular permeability and activating the endothelial cells, while serotonin is released from the neurons, and it is activating it is playing important role in the activation of increase the platelet aggregation. Next we have some newly synthesized mediators that are arachidonic acid mediators, prostaglandin and thromboxane. Prostaglandin, it has a lot of types, and PGE2 is involved in the fever, while PGI2 is doing the other things. And then we have discussed that the prostaglandin is causing vasodilation and it is inhibiting the platelet aggregation, while the thromboxane is doing the opposite of it. And then we have discussed the leukotrienes and the lipopoxins. Then we have discussed some other cell drive mediators like nitric oxide, ROS, reactive oxygen species, and neuropeptide, and all of these like mediators. We have discussed all of them. Now we are going to start the second type of mediator, which are plasma drive. So first type is cell derived, which are produced at the site of infection, but the second type is the plasma drive mediators, which are derived from the plasma and they are actually producing inside the liver. So the major source of all the mediators is the plasma, or you can say the liver. So this line should be written in every type of the mediator. So they are actually circulating protein. Plasma protein are the circulating protein, and they are produced, or they are involved in three interrelated systems. So they have three system there in which these proteins play important role. The first system is the complement system, second is the kinin system, and last is the coagulation system, or you can say it as the फिब्रोलाइसिस सिस्टम. सो इन तीन सिस्टम्स में ये सारी प्रोटीन्स यूज़ होती हैं. सो सबसे पहला हम सिस्टम मेंशन करते हैं, एंड दैट इज़ अबाउट द कॉम्प्लीमेंट सिस्टम. So this complement system consists of a lot of proteins. It consists of small proteins from C1 to C19. C9. Okay, as written here. And usually all of these proteins are in inactivated form in within the plasma, and they become activated by the proteolysis, and they have a lot of alternative pathways, like classical pathway, alternative pathway, and lectin pathway. The classical pathway, it is triggered by antigen antibody complex, and it bind to the C1. The alternative pathway is triggered by microbial surfaces, and the lectin pathway is triggered by a lot of things here. For example, it is triggered by mannose on the microbe. So it is not triggered by antibody, like we have said the alternative classical pathway in which antibody or antigen complex bind to our microbe. But here our mannose bind to the microbe. So what are all these pathway? What is the difference? So actually what is gonna to happen here, the common step in all of these pathway is that this is your microbe, and over the microbe these are a lot of you can say adhesion molecules on which different things can attack or attach with it. So on these molecules, a protein bind to it which is C3b. Okay, so मैं इस प्रोटीन को कुछ इस तरह से बना रही हूँ. So ये C3b protein है which bind to the microbe. Okay, so let's see it clearly. This step, the deposition of C3b on the microbial surface, this is common between the all the pathways. Okay, just the difference is the first step. Like in the alternative pathway, just the microbe is present here, over which this C3b bind on alternative pathway. Okay, in case of classical pathway, there is like this is a microbe antigen, and on that antigen the antibody bind. So this is antibody antigen complex, and then over this complex the C3b bind. This is a classical pathway which is triggered by antigen antibody complex. Third is the mannose, that your antibody, your microbe is here, and over this microbe, a mannose, which is a sugar, which attach with it, and then it will allow the attachment of C3b over it. Okay, now in the case of classical pathway, sorry, alternative pathway, the C3A will bind to this position, and it cause the destruction or the phagocytosis. Similarly, in the case of this is was the case of classical pathway. Now there this is a case of sorry, this was the case of alternative. Now we move to the classical pathway. On the classical pathway, what will be happening? So this complex will not bind to C3A, it will bind to phagocytic cell, Phag- phagocytic cell, and cause the digestion. The end is the digestion. But now instead of C3A, it binds to the phagocytic cell. While in the lectin pathway, it will binds to a, you know, it will binds to a initial membrane attack complex. So it will bind to MAC. Okay, it will bind to MAC in the case of lectin pathway. What is MAC? It is the membrane attack complex and cause the digestion of the microbe. So this is the difference between all of these pathways. Okay, now we move back. So actually we have discussed its component. Their source is the plasma produced through the liver. Now we have three things here. First is the C3 converter. What is the complement system? So I am explaining the three steps of it. In the first step, C3 convertase converted into C3A and C3B. Second step, C5 convertase cleaves into या breakdown or divide into C5A and C5B. In the third step, MAC, which is the membrane attack complex, it consists of proteins from C5b to C9, and they create pore in the microbial membrane and make the and destroy the thin wall bacteria like the Neisseria bacteria is. So what is the function of all of these protein? Like C3A, it is doing vascular changes, causing vasodilation, increasing the vascular permeability. C3B on the microbe, it causing the phagocytosis or opsonization. C5A is playing important role in chemotaxis. The role of C3B and C5A is very important. It could be asked in the Viva question. So please make sure that you should learn it or remember it. Now C5b, it helps in the formation of MAC complex. So this is some things that are about the complement system. Now we will discuss how what things are regulating, or what things are actually not we say the regulation, what things are inhibiting the complement system. Okay, so these are the three things. First is the C1 inhibitor, second is the decay accelerating factor DAF, and third is the factor H. These three things are inhibiting the complement system, somehow inhibiting any step, and inhibiting the complement system, inhibiting these proteins. First is the C1 inhibitor, it blocks the C1 activation. Reason why it is happening, so hereditary factor, edema, or angiogenesis can be. Next is the decay accelerating factor DAF. It blocks the formation of C3 formation or C5 convertase. It doesn't allow the C3 or C5 convertase to form, and when they don't form, they don't cleave into C3A and C3B, C5A and 5B, and they don't perform the action. Third is the factor H. It blocks the convertase and and we have two convertase here, C3 and C5 convertase, and whenever the deficiency of factor H will happens, what things can occur? So first is the macular degeneration, due to which eyesight decrease due to decrease in the permeability of the eye. And second thing that can happen is the hemolytic uremic syndrome, in which the small blood vessels of your kidney, they can rupture due to the deficiency of the factor H. Next is there would be, due to the deficiency of factor H, there would be no C5a, 5b, or 3a, and that's why there should not be no any white blood cell activation, no inflammation, no phagocytosis. So that's why factor H, delay accelerating factor, and the C1 inhibitor, these are very important. Okay, now we move to the second interrelated system, that in which circulating proteins are playing important role here. So now we will discuss it. Okay, guys, next is the kinin system. Kinin system, in the system in which bradykinin is produced. So source is plasma, produced by the liver, same thing. And one thing, it is triggered by a factor 12, which is called Hegman factor. And how the activation occur? First of all, preclarin convert into the clarin, and clarin convert into the bradykinin, kinin, sorry. And calclarin, what is doing, it is activating the plasmin and increasing the fibrinolysis process. So actually, bradykinin is a mediator, and we are discussing the plasma drive mediator, and we have discussed that in the kinin system how the bradykinin is doing, and the function of it is that it is doing vascular changes, vasodilation, and muscular vasoconstriction, and it also cause the pain. Next is the coagulation and fibrinolysis system. Source is plasma. Key role, it causes the activation of proteases. It causes the factor like factor 12a, Hagman factor, in which fibrinogen convert into the fibrin and thrombin. Function is that it causes the endothelial cell activation, and it causes the white blood cell recruitment to the site of injury. So this is the whole summary about the plasma drive mediators. We have discussed all the things about them. The next thing that is written within your book is about the fibrinolysis system, how it occurs, like about the plasminogen convert into the plasmin. So we have discussed the coagulation. Now fibrinolysis system is that your fibrinogen convert into the fibrin, and the fibrin is caused producing the thrombin. So how it occur, like your how this conversion occur. So sorry for that. We are not discussing fibrinogen. We are discussing some other thing that activated by the factor 12a. And this thing is that your plasminogen convert into the plasmin by factor 12 also. Okay, and the plasmin is anticoagulant, fibrin is producing coagulant, and plasmin is not producing the clot. It split the fibrin, and it inhibit the clot formation. So your one factor, which is this factor 12a, it is activating all the systems. We have discussed its activation or its role in the complement system. We have discussed its role in the kinin system to produce the bradykinin. We have discussed that this factor use in fibrinolysis. We discussed this factor. So this factor is used in, and in complement system it is used to activate C3 and C5a. So that's why it also in clotting system to form the clot, this factor is used. So this factor is doing a lot of things here. Due to factor 12a, which is called Hegman factor, we are doing the conversion of preclarin to clarin. we are doing clotting, we are converting fibrinogen into the fibrin. Due to it, we also producing the bradykinin. Due to it, we also producing plasminogen from plasmin, and due to it we are also activating the complement system. We activate C3 and C5 into C3a and C5a. So these all the things are happening due to our this C factor 12a. Okay, now after that, within your book they have written the anti-inflammatory mediators. Okay, so before they are writing the anti-inflammatory mediator, they have given the summary of inflammatory mediator, like their components and their mediator. Component is the vasodilation, which is done by three mediator. Prostaglandin is also doing vasodilation, nitric oxide and histamine. They are all are doing vasodilation. Increasing the permeability is done by a lot of mediators like histamine, serotonin, C3a, C5a, bradykinin, leukotrienes. Chemotaxis is done by TNF, IL-1, chemokines, leukotrienes, and fever is done by IL-1, TNF, prostaglandin, E2. Pain is done by substance P, prostaglandin, and bradykinin, and the tissue damage is done by lysosomal enzyme ROS and sometimes NO, because it can also be act as your uh, microbicidal nature. So for sometimes the nitric oxide, when we have discussed the nitric oxide, it can also be act as microbicidal agent. So after that we are discussing the anti-inflammatory mechanism. So the inflammation is in itself, its nature is self-limiting. It is very short-lived, and it can be normal down. So it neutralized by neutralization of inflammation is called anti-inflammation. Okay, and it is done by interleukin 10, TNF beta, and lipoxin. These three things, that's why I have called TNF 10 beta is a good. Okay guys, so that's why you have to always remember that TNF alpha is not good, but TNF beta is good for you because it is anti-inflammatory in nature. So now, which are the mediators of anti-inflammatory? First is the lipoxin. It is anti-inflammatory because it inhibits the leukocyte recircuitment. It doesn't allow leukocyte to recirculate, and as well as it also inhibits the process of arachidonic acid, and that's why it doesn't allow the production of inflammatory mediators like prostaglandin, thromboxane, leukotrienes. It doesn't allow the production of it. Next is the interleukin 10. Interleukin 10 is secreted by macrophages or some other cells, and it decreases the activity of the macrophages, causing the negative feedback. That's why it's supposed to do pro-inflammatory responses. It is doing some inflammatory responses because it is secreted by macrophages, and it is doing its own negative in feedback. It is decreasing its own from where it is releasing, like it is releasing from macrophages, and it also inhibiting the activity of macrophages. Next is the interleukin 10 receptor. So it causes severe infertile colitis. So whenever in your body interleukin 10 receptor decreases, it causes you a disease causing as called as infantile colitis. Next is the TNF beta. Actually, it inhibits the excessive immune responses. So that's why it reduce the inflammation, and it start the process of tissue repair and fibrosis. So it is moving toward the healing and stopping the inflammation. Next is some are intracellular inhibitors are there, which are the pro-inflammatory signals like tyrosine phosphatase. It acts as a signaling in a pathway inhibitor, so it inhibits the pro-inflammatory signals and just protect our body from the inflammation. Last is the plasmin. Plasmin is a fibrinolytic agent. As we have discussed the plasmin here, it blocks the clot formation, it breaks the fibrin, and it is a part of calc Klenin system, and it activates actually the C3A, C5B, and C5A, and it is not considered as the anti-inflammatory mediator. It activates the inflammation actually, but by inhibiting the clot formation, it is inhibiting the progression of the inflammation. That's why it is somehow considered as anti-inflammatory, but as its nature, it is activating the other inflammatory mediators. That's why it is not considered as the anti-inflammatory mediator. So these are all the things. Just revise with me. Anti-inflammatory mediators. The first mediator that we have discussed is the lipoxin. Why? It inhibits the LWBC recruitment and it inhibits the arachidonic acid. Second is interleukin 10, which is secreted by macrophages and it is inhibiting its own macrophages, down regulated and doing the negative feedback. Interleukin 10 receptor deficiency lead to infertile colitis. TNF beta, it reduces the inflammation, it reduces the pro-inflammatory signals such as the intracellular receptor inhibitors are doing, and TNF beta is start the healing process. Similarly, some intracellular inhibitors like tyrosine phosphatase, it also inhibit the inflammation signals. And plasmin is somehow considered as anti-inflammatory, but due to the activation of C3A, C5A, and C5B, it is not considered as anti-inflammatory mediator. So this point is very important, and this is the all the mediators that are causing the neutralization of your inflammation. But the major among them is the TNF, IL 10, interleukin 10, TNF beta, and lipoxin. These three are the major one of them which could be asked in the Viva question. So this was all our lectures in which we have covered all the plasma drive mediators, and here we have came to end of our acute inflammation topic. In the next lecture we are going to start about the chronic inflammation, in which we will see the detail of chronic inflammation. We will also give a whole lecture on which we will discuss the mediators of your chronic inflammation, and then we will see morphological appearance of chronic inflammation, as we have seen the morphological appearance of the acute inflammation. And after that we will gonna to start the tissue repair, which was the last topic. The tissue repair and the chronic inflammation is not much important as the acute inflammation is, but still we have to cover them. But the acute inflammation was the major important thing that we have covered now, and I think all the concept will be clear within your mind. And still if you have some confusion remain in your mind, then please you can ask me in the comment section and I will give you the answer. So if you like this video, then please subscribe to my channel, like my videos, and also press the bell icon so that you can get the notification of all the videos that I will be uploaded in the next upcoming videos. Thank you so much. Take care. Allah Hafiz. Remember me in prayers.